is Rowena Dooley, asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
Pra voltar, não posso mais viver sem teu sorriso iluminando a manhã. Me perdoa, meu amor, me beija com sabor de quem nunca esqueceu.
And greetings. Welcome back to Soul Voices. I am Griffin Gaming RPG, and today is Saturday, March the 25th. And we're back. I'm giving you guys a fair warning now. You're going to hear a beep every once in a while because like 10 minutes ago, either my carbon monoxide detector or my fire detector decided to tell me there was a low battery. So if you hear the beeping, just know that it just started. So I'm just giving you fair warning now. But welcome and thank you guys for being here on a Saturday afternoon. I hope that you enjoyed that little intro that we had. I think CIG sent that out to us deliberately with some very relaxing, chill out bossa nova music because, yeah, we needed to be chilled and relaxed because 318, as you guys see for the title of today's show, no pain, no gain. And so that's going to be the theme, talking about this whole release of 318. As you guys know, last week, I was out of town. Once again, I apologize for those of you who may have been looking for us last week. But this was actually going to be the conversation for last week. And then I said, I'm going to put together a show for next week. And I was like, nope, you know what? It's still relevant, what I wanted to talk about then. In fact, I think that we've had some time to let things kind of marinate and settle in with us to talk about what's been happening with the development of Star Citizen and Update 318. So hopefully you guys will have some great things to come in and share with me today. By the way, this show is our one-on-one show where you get to come in and talk to me one-on-one and share your thoughts with the community, not just with me. So there will be a link that will pop up in the chat. You can click on that. It'll bring you into our green room in the Discord, and we will bring you in and you can talk to me. So once again, thank you guys for being here today. I hope you guys did enjoy that intro. You know, CIG always has a great way of putting together their marketing, their trailers. It's enough to say, yeah, I want to do that. And playable now, right? So we'll talk about how playable now was as we get going into this show. So let's go ahead and jump right into it with our very first topic. These are from Spectrum. As you guys know, we pull our information from Spectrum and from Reddit and from the industry. This week, we are going to hit Spectrum and Reddit. 2 from Spectrum, 2 from Reddit. And the very first one is a refreshing one. You know, one of those ones that you kind of expect to see. And the title of this one is, just for the heck of it, oops, that's the wrong button. Let me make sure I push the right button here. Where's it at? There we go. $600 million and nothing works. Nothing works. Just remember that. $600 million and nothing works by superhornet. And superhornet says not logins. This is from a week ago, mind you. Not logins, not elevators, not trains, not terminals, not ship seats, not landing requests, not doors, not NPCs, not chat. Nothing works. Nothing works. Were you hit by the nothing works thing? Did you try to log into the game day one? Were you one of those lucky few who got in and played, and then they go back and brag to everybody about, oh, the game was playing so perfectly and smooth, and other people were banging on their computers and trying to do resets, restarts, and shutting off their computers and doing all types of stuff, trying to get into the game because they saw a few people got in. They saw some streamers who may have gotten in. Were you one of those people who literally waited through the weekend? Maybe you didn't get in until Sunday or Monday of the week. Some of you may not have gotten in until the patch came in the latter part of the week, like me. I didn't get in until Friday on my main account. I did get in on my alt, but my main account was killed for 8 days straight, right? I couldn't get in with my main. Were you one of those people? Were you one of those people who got in, and then when the patch came out on last Friday, you couldn't get in anymore? You start getting the error code popping up again that other people were getting the week before. Or have you had just a smooth ride with getting into this? I want to talk about this. I know a lot of times people might think that we're being white knightish when we come up with responses to things like this. $600 million and nothing works. I think there's some validity to it. They're saying that there's been money placed into it, and we would think that maybe some of the basics in the game or things that were working previously, they should be working now. We shouldn't be having issues with those things. Something as simple as logging in, or something as simple as pulling up your ship. Something as simple as chat not working. You know, frustrating place to be in a game where you're excited to jump in and play the game. But then I think that the tough side of this has to do with when we try to use money to be the rationale. You know, I almost would feel better more if people use time. You know, we've been working on this for years. Why are we still struggling with some of these things? I think that question reaches better, because $600 million in the scheme of things, in the way the gaming industry is, and you guys have heard us say this before, is not a lot of money, especially over a 10-year period. We're talking $60 million a year. And for those of you who know, I'm sure many of you do know, some mobile games make that much a month, 60 million a month, 100 million a month, 500 million a month. Believe it or not, there's actually a couple of them that make $1 billion a month on a mobile game. And this is $600 million over a 10-year period. So I understand the frustration. I don't want to dismiss the frustration, but I am curious about how you responded to the release of Update 3.18. Very much anticipated. CIG told us that there was going to be a rocky road ahead. They told us it was going to be at least 3 months. They were 3 months and a couple of weeks over before we finally got it to go live. But yeah, I'd love to know. So if you want to jump in and talk to me, whether you got into the game, whether you talked to people who were in the game, whether you watch streams, I would love to know your thoughts and feelings about where we are. I am not in Discord, so I got to put myself in my own Discord first. There we go. And I'm going to bring Kai Zin in. And Kai, are you there?
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to hear your voice.
Great.
Yeah.
So maybe I have a different opinion than some on this.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't feel that the criticism of how rough a start it was is particularly sort of relevant or understanding.
Okay.
I think you can make the argument to say $600 million or this much time, 10 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can make that argument to support why you feel like you're not happy with the rate of advancement. You're not happy with the overall state of the game, where they're at right now. You know, that we're just one system, that we have the server limitations that we do, that we have the limited game loops. That, I think, is a far more reasonable criticism that, I'm not saying that I 100% buy it, but like you can make arguments for or against on that.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's just put it bluntly. 318 shit the bed on drop. But every major release of every major game in the last 10 years, much less any game that is in alpha, shits the bed. Like everybody, like it's just known you don't play on patch day. And in most games, if it's a single player game, you don't, in a lot of games, you don't play on patch week.
Yeah.
And for some games, you don't play on patch month.
That's right.
And for a game that's in alpha, like I completely understand people being angry. Like, because it's human nature to say, I want a thing. They hyped a thing. They told me I could have a thing.
Yeah.
The thing's not there. Now I'm angry. But to be honest, this is like if you live in New York City and you're driving from Long Island to Manhattan and traffic takes you an hour and 20 minutes to go 5 miles and you're super, super mad. On day one, that's understandable. If you've been doing the same commute for 5 years and you're mad for the hour and a half long trip every day, 5 years later, well, that's just on you. Just stop being simple. Like, just know, like, we're all grown-ups, right? We all have credit cards that we use to buy in on this shit. Therefore, there should be some grown-up logic involved. And I don't think that anyone can say, wow, man, Star Citizen dropped this new release and it didn't work. And that's unlike all the other games that I play.
Yeah. To your point, when you look at what was dropped, right? This wasn't like a typical drop. We knew that the persistent entity streaming was a big piece, right? And then we saw, that's one reason why I ran the trailer at the beginning, because it did show all these different things now that are being added into the game to take us to that next level of what we want to do in the game. So to a certain degree, and again, that's why I opened up saying the CIG did give us a warning saying, hey, it's going to be a rough road ahead. I will say this, Kai, and I'm going to let you go.
Sure.
I was one of those people who played in the PTU. Some good days, some bad days. But at the end, when we were at that very last patch, the game was silky smooth. Everything was working. Now, for me, I just kind of wondered what happened between that last patch that we had in PTU versus when we went live. But the fact that I got to spend time in the PTU and have fun, when it came out and wrecked, it didn't bother me. You know what I mean? Because I got to see everything. I got to do stuff. I was like, they'll get it fixed. That's how I felt. It'll get fixed. But there were other people who said, I'm not going into PTU. I'm going to wait till it comes out. And like you said, that hype built up. And then when it came out, they were like, oh, they heard all these people playing the PTU and it was so great. Then when it came out, they were like, what the heck?
The answer to your question is scale.
Yes.
You make plans, your wife says, honey, we got the grandkids in and we need to make them lunch tomorrow. And you say, it's okay, baby. You go ahead and go. I know you got your hair appointment. I'll make lunch for the 3 grandkids tomorrow. Okay. No problem. Then you find out that little Timmy's got had a sleepover and has friends, and he's got 5 friends.
Exactly.
And then little Julie, she's got her 3 friends that she's going to ballet. And next thing you know, you're making sandwiches for 19 kids.
Exactly.
Scale will get you every time.
Right. Which people didn't get and understand. Thank you, prisoners, so much for that donation.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, and that's what people didn't get. It's one thing to go to Evo. It's one thing to, first to go from QA to Evo to, wave 1 to wave 2. And even when we say everybody can get in, we know that a lot of people don't jump in. But when you open the gates up all the way, right? When the trailer comes out, when all this anticipation, people who said, I ain't been here in the last 3 years, when all these jokers show up on the same day, on a Friday, going into a weekend, kaboom, right?
On top of that, so you have, number 1, a ton of people that wanted to come in because all the new toys to play with.
Right.
Number 2, a ton of the people that wanted to come in because there hasn't been a new PU patch in 6 months. So when you put those two things together, and one last thing before, because I know you got Pops and Fists waiting and they got good stuff on this, but one last thing to say, I'll be honest, I said this on my show back when we were doing a show. I said, look, when they put in persistent entity streaming and they start to put in the server meshing, the next year of playing Star Citizen, I feel like from starting a month ago when or 2 weeks ago, whatever, when 18 dropped, the next year of playing this game is going to be less good than the last year. This is a thing they have to go through.
Yep.
It's painful, it's growing pains, but you have to go through it to get to the other side, to get all the goodness of this stuff in. The process of growing up like a bean sprout when you're a boy, you know, you like being tall, but that process of getting there, man, those burns hurt, those bones hurt.
Yeah.
And when they're growing, and this is where we're at. This is just where we're at right now, and it's going to be like it. And ain't nobody getting mad at you if you go play Starfield or go play New World or go play this game or that game or the other game. Go play something. Go play WoW. Go play whatever, and then come back in a year. If you are one of those people that you're more excited by the new stuff to play with than you are frustrated by the growing pains, then play Star Citizen every day and enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person that's going to blow up and get angry and be miserable, why pay money to be miserable? Go play something else, and you can come back in a year when it's here for you.
There you go. Good point. Good advice.
Love you, brother.
All right,
Talk to you
Kai.
later.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. All righty. By the way, don't forget, you can come in and talk to us one-on-one. Show's day's title is No Pain, No Gain. And you see the topic on the screen, $600 million, and nothing works. Let me bring in Pops in the space. Pops, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I am.
How are you, my friend?
Yeah. Okay, I'm fine. I'm listening to your beat, man.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, man. It's going on.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's Samba. I love that. You know, when the CIG pulls that out, it's so counter to what you think you're going to see on screen, but it fits, right? The Samba stuff is just so smooth and cool, you know. But you know me, I'm a smooth jazz guy, so I love that stuff. Anyway, what are your thoughts about this, Pop? $600 million, nothing works.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of confusing to me. This is the confusing part. Okay, PTU got pretty good.
Right.
And I didn't understand the transfer when it went to live.
Yep.
Why everything just went, you know.
Well, that's what Kai said. It was scaling.
Yeah.
It was scaling. It was the fact that it went from a few thousand people to hundreds of thousands of people getting into the game. And that's when you find everything. You know, and this was something too, Pops. Before they released it this time, this doesn't always happen on patches. They did a stress test the week before.
Right.
They asked people to come in to stress the system out. Now, I know I'm not saying that everybody needs to jump in. Don't get me wrong. But I do think that it helps that the more people do get in, even if they just log in. I don't care if they just log in and go stand. They don't have to go bring out their big, you know, reclaimer or whatever. But the more people who are in there, that does give them data and analytics to say what are the things they need to tackle. But when you get literally, there were people in my org who hadn't been in the game forever, and they showed up that day to jump in on the patch. And some people were getting queued. There was a lot of waiting. And there was just a lot that happened because there was a lot of hype about 318, a lot of hype. And PES was one. You know, persistent entity streaming was a big factor for this. That people were very excited about. People have been waiting on that particular thing. You know, this goes back from the days of what was it called, socks and all that stuff that we were doing before. And now we finally have it in our hands. So there was frustration, you know. And again, I hate to say it, I knew people who were like, "I'm taking off Friday so I can get in the game." I'm like, I've been around too long. Don't take off a Star Citizen. You know, don't take off a Star Citizen. Just it's not. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm saying if it's a Friday, go to work. You got Saturday and Sunday. You know what I mean? It's you know, it's different when we get that brand new game that launches and people got time in the books and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna take a day off." But you take a day off and I hate to say it, I watched Captain Richard late into that day. He had been waiting all day, and at the end, he was about to log out. He said, "You know what? I've been here. We're gonna wrap it up. We're probably not gonna get in today." He tried a couple more times. He finally got in. You know, so it was a difficult day for a lot of folks. But again, there were people like Yo-Yo who said she got in that Friday. She and Abdi played all night. They said they had a great day on that Friday.
Oh, is that when they got Yeah,
they got in day one. But then when they came back Saturday, it crapped out on them. But all night Friday, they had a ball. They played all night. So that's what happens. Yeah, Pop. So you know, it's one of those things that happens. You know, and we'll get over it. You know, we'll get past it. You know, I think as people, and you hear it now, it's settling down now, and people are digging what they're seeing. You know.
Yeah, and I got to give a shout out to one of my favorite people, Colossal, because he was, I don't know what, like 1 million something in line to get in, but you know, he dealt with it, and so Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Colossal.
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah. So again, guys, and thank you for putting that in there, Alex. Yeah, guys, I opened the show up talking about that this was information from last week, but I'm just carrying it over because there's still certain sentiments about the game and people are still talking about these subjects. So we're talking about just this whole launch of 318 from, last week all the way through to this week. So just know that's why we're having this conversation. Okay. All right, Pops. Thank you, brother.
Okay.
As always,
All right.
that's my guy. Kai beat him this week, though. Let me bring in Fist to face, and then we're going to move on to our next topic. Fist, you there?
How you are you? Yes, I'm
Hey,
here.
good.
Great. Shout out to both Pop and they had some good points on it. I would like to ask both you and chat, does anybody remember the game Bless Online?
I remember Blessed. Yeah, I didn't play it, but I do remember it.
Okay. So I was in a gaming community back in the day when it was announced it was going to come out. Make a long story short, came out. Everybody was raving about it to try to get in because they was looking for, like you said, looking for the next MMO to go play. Basically to say, wasn't a good launch. Was not a good launch. It was a lot of things that were, as far as server wise, people couldn't get in. They didn't have enough servers to begin with. They had to, start up a bunch of them. Folks from guilds that were trying to get in to join in with each other couldn't do so. Folks were on this server, folks were on that server, here, there, everywhere. So basically, to my point in trying to say is that this is, again, if you're a true gamer and you've been around for a while, of course, you've gone through these pains before, with rough launches. Now, remember, this is an alpha. This isn't a launch. This is an alpha. So take it, I would look at it like this. Yes, a lot of times we play Star Citizen as it is a game. Yeah. But we forget, like you said, again, kind of got to hammer it away at folks again, kind of remind them, like, listen, we are testers. Yeah. So we have to understand that, put in perspective that, and I ask this question to those who feel this way, would you have rather have this now happen or when it actually goes to launch?
Yeah, I think to your point, Fist, I think the problem is, and we talked about this like a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. We talked about the idea, what would happen as the game got better, playing it wise, that people would start to get so used to the game playing well that we forget that it is still in development. You know what I mean? So it's like looking at the trailer, right? You look at the trailer. Well, you're not seeing the bugs. You're not seeing the login problem. You're not seeing people standing on chairs. You know what I'm saying? So, psychologically, I think you're right. We have to remind ourselves. And people who maybe come in who don't know all the history behind it. And maybe when they came in 317, the game was fairly playable. And now all of a sudden it feels very broken. Right. Because they didn't experience 3.0 and some of the other patches where we've had this happen before. You're right. You're right. We do.
So to the point though about the commercial or advertisement, one of the things that they'll do, I do still have a gripe with CIG about this is that they make these videos so good looking and again, they make them so good looking. They put all of the stuff in there. Great music choice. Problematic is that messaging there?
Well, let me ask you a question. I don't know an answer to this. What's the alternative? If you want to get the word out, what's the alternative? You can't show the bugs. You can't show somebody sitting at their computer trying to log in. So what's the alternative?
Difficult thing though, because it's a tough thing, because one of the things about open development, is that it's you got your pros and your cons, because like I said, again, we also are a part of the community with the Ashes of Creation. And one of the things with them is that, like they said, because the problem with open development is that you see the growing pains. And a lot of times when a person who sees something for a first time comer, like for example, if you were to see the combat of Ashes of Creation from way back I forget which year from the beginning, right? Compared to now, that person who would have saw it back then, it might have put a bad taste in their mouth. Says, "I bumped this game. I'm done with it. I don't want to mess with it at all."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
To where if they would have seen it where it's at now, they'd be like, "Ooh," you know what I mean? So it's that.
It's a catch-22. You know, they want to draw the eyes, they want to get the attention, they want to get the revenue, and at the same time, it is also the thing that bites them in the butt at the same time. And maybe that's the devil. Maybe that's the devil they just decided to ride with, of the lesser of two evils. You know what I mean?
It's like my a good friend that we spoke people all swear to would always say, it's their bane and their boon.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Very true. Good point, Fizz. Good point. All right, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Shady Phase. Yes, you are right. I thought about that too. Shady Phase says the only thing that bothered me about the patch launch was that I was seeing ads for 3.18 on YouTube and things were on fire. That's bad for people coming in who don't know that the game is broken and they have any idea how the state of the game is. I agree, Shady. I didn't see it. I actually saw the trailer like 2 days ago for the first time. I didn't know it was out beforehand. And I agree. I think that maybe CIG needs to, don't coincide those advertisements with launch, right? Because as Kai mentioned, as Fist mentioned, Pops mentioned, it's kind of like known that when a big patch like this comes out, there's going to be problems. It may have been better to wait until a week or two goes by when things are much more stable to then put out the advertisement. Is that week or two going to hurt in the sense of going out to the general masses? No, it's not. I don't think it will. But I do appreciate those videos, to what Fist was saying, for the community, for us to know what's going on and what to expect. It is a tightrope, right? It's if they show us the fun stuff and we want to see the cool stuff, right? We want to see it, but at the same time, goes back to Jared's things about managing expectations. It's there, we see it, we see the potential, but sometimes it's just not delivered, and that can be very frustrating. So, all right, let's move on to our next topic, which is going to be, I am so glad I uninstalled the game and unsubscribed from the newsletters. It's a relief. Okay. This one's a little bit different. Oh, Jay, I'm sorry. If you just came in, I'm sorry. Jay, hang in there. I'll still bring you in if you want to comment on this one, feel free. I got to do a little reading on this one, gang. So we're going to put the link in here in the chat. I think Fastcart will drop it in for me. Hopefully he will. If not, I'll put it in. This is from Thunder Force 4. It's a little bit of a read here. It's not very long, but I'll read it for you. I'm now watching all the chaos, especially with 3.18 from the sideline, as a spectator, so to speak. I've unsubscribed from all the newsletters. No more lorem ipsum like Squadron 42 404 reports. The marketing guys can no longer bother me for FOMO mails. It's honestly a relief, trust me. Do I miss anything now that I haven't logged in for a few weeks? No, not really. The beautiful sunsets and the eye candy have just distracted me from the pathetic state of the PU anyway, so I don't give a FUCK about beautiful sunsets anymore. I've been following the project for almost 10 years now, and I've learned 3 things. 1, eye candy, cool ships, JPEG concepts, more JPEGs, devs talking about JPEGs, devs theory crafting, community events, SCL, Squadron 404 reports. None of this really matters if CIG won't manage to deliver a decent game within a reasonable time frame. That's not my opinion. That's fact. Number 2, the PR guys as well as the devs are very good at keeping backers hyped and engaged. Yeah, I get it. Dear PR guys and devs, I am a donkey and all I want is the pie in the sky, respectively, the carrot that's dangling in front of my head. Well, tough luck. My wallet is closed and it stays closed. And finally, 3, CIG invested 10 years and burned $500 million without officially releasing one decent game. Would you believe that? Just imagine you're traveling 10 years back in time, you meet your younger self, and you're telling him that 10 years later, after CIG burned $500 million, there's still no decent game, let alone Squadron 404. Let that sink in for a while. A while ago, I just laughed at all the backers who were whining and complaining about the project. Now I'm laughing with them. Okay, so that is from Thunder Force 4. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Jay Voodoo because he's still there, and let's see what he has to say. Jay, you there?
I am.
Hey, how are you, man?
Doing well.
Good.
So for the second topic, I see this as a troll. If they were real, then they wouldn't be on Spectrum getting on their soapbox about how grateful they are to get out.
Okay.
They would be out, be happy in their life, and they wouldn't need to share that happiness with others to prove their superiority.
Let me ask you.
So what I was going to say about the first topic was that, excuse the back chair developing, but the alternative is possibly to show the customer service at work during a launch and just have that being streamed to say, hey, we're in this with you. We're trying to figure this stuff out as much as you are, and just to have that kind of community building. They're always good about bringing in people from different departments and stuff, but so far I don't think I've seen people from customer support.
Yeah.
So
to your
maybe
point,
that's a thing.
No, I think it's a good point, because I remember that following ISC, I think if I'm remembering, it closed out with Jarrett making an apology, which was something that we don't see. Fastcart mentioned this on his show that week. Very seldom have we seen CIG publicly say, hey, we know we got messed up, but to what you said, we're riding with you. But I agree with you. I think that there are times I think CIG underestimates a little bit the community, in the sense of that we are willing to accept stuff happening if you would just tell us, give us some info about it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times it's just, if you tell us, like some people understood when we say, for example, well, it's the back end. It has nothing to do with your computer. Even when we were telling people in our org about it, you could tell there was a little bit of relief, still some frustration, but they're sitting here trying to bang on their computer to make their computer work. And we're saying, dude, it's not your computer. It's not you. Right. It's on their end, And so
just like this thing, I was like, what did I do?
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're right. I think that there can be those people that when something like that happens, who come forward, and most of us have got our big boy, big girl pants on, right? We can take it. We can take it, but when we don't hear anything other than the fact that, it's live, you get into your org, you go somewhere and, 318's live, and that's all you hear, then you try to log in and you can't even get past for some people, they couldn't even see the login screen,
right.
Real issues. I think you make a valid point, and I think it's one that CIG could and should consider. I think it's a good one. All right,
and,
Jay. Go ahead.
Back to the second topic.
Yeah, sure.
I go back to my kind of standard stance that this is a for-profit company, and that they make a product, and they either make a good product that I like, will want to spend my money, want to spend my time with, or they don't, and I go someplace else and utilize those resources there.
Yeah.
So it's up to them to make it right, and if it works for me, then great. If it doesn't work, like this, one poster here that says I uninstalled, I could be happier.
Yeah.
Then, it was a mismatch there. But at one point, CI will live and die by their ability to retain customers.
True. Very true. And time will tell, right? When it's all said and done, time will tell. All right, Jay. As always, you got good stuff. Thanks, bro.
Bye.
All righty. I don't know who's next. I'm going to bring in Fist this time. I brought in Pops last time. I'll bring Fist this time. Fist, you there?
How are you?
Hey, I'm back. I'm back.
Yeah, production. Live production. Oof.
Yeah, I know. It's always fun. You're ready to sweat. The worst thing in the world is when you have to shut everything down. It's one thing when you can troubleshoot it and figure it out real quick. But I saw a message pop up about my mixer. It said something. And then I thought it was just one of those little weird messages that came up. The next thing you know, it was like everything. I was like, got to restart the whole computer. Anyway.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. As far as to this here, there was two things I wanted to say. As far as to this question, the first one up on the screen, like J2 said, my sentiments exactly, if you're living your best life right now without all of the nonsense that you want to quote unquote say from CIG all up in your emails and sending you DMs, sending you unwanted pictures that you don't like, to entice you, thirst traps and all of that other stuff that you want to claim, then ain't no need to sit up here and talk about it. Ain't no need to sit up here and brag about it. If that's what it is in your life, if you feel like it's great for you, then, like you said, live your best life.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I agree with you guys. I think that's the way you and I look at it. because that's what I would do if let me put it this way, if I really didn't care about it, that's what I would do. That's if I really, you hear my emphasis though, if I really didn't care about it, right?
Yeah.
But the reality I think is that they do care about it.
Right.
And this becomes an expression of frustration. And mind you, I hate to say it, and I'm not throwing any shade at Thunder Force when I say this. I'm just saying it's another interesting observation. If you've been in here 10 years and you still feel like you're throwing money at CIG or your wallet's closed, I mean, after 10 years, there's a certain point, most of us who've been around that long, our wallets are shut, and when we open them, we're very conscious about opening them. I don't if CIG put out a ship right now and I bought it, I'm not gonna have no freaking buyer's remorse about it. I've been in it 10 years. I know how the game is. You know what I'm saying? I know how the development game is played at this point.
Exactly.
Now, if I just been around 1 or 2 years and I say, I thought this shit was going to come out and blah blah blah, then I get it. But if you've been around 10 years, you should have enough fortitude to know when to shut that wallet and when to open it up.
I have so far have been sticking to the guns.
Yeah, you have. You said I'm not doing it. Kai's like that, right? Kai tells us all the time. He supports
sticking to the guns.
Yeah.
I've don't get me wrong. As ships come out, it's great. It's tempting. I'm like, wait. But you know what I've done for me? I've looked at it in the point of fact to say, well, I have everything that I need right now.
There you go. There you go.
So the only thing that I say that's on my checklist that I'm waiting for is, like we said, I'm looking for something in the alien category.
Yeah.
As far as within, a land vehicle in that alien category.
Right.
To look at my fleet. I'm not. My mind is not in collection mode.
Right.
For ships right now.
And I think it's bad when people do. I think Thunder Force mentions a good point. You have to be smart enough to not get caught up in FOMO, right? The fear of missing out is really big for some people. Some people really think that, I won't be able to do this in the game. We try to tell people all the time. We were having a conversation with a guy in our org yesterday, and he was talking about how he had bought some ships. He wasn't happy with them. And it was, I can understand. There's so much to learn about this game. But he was saying he bought the exploration pack, but then he talked about he wanted to do salvage and mining. And he's like, I got the character. And I thought I'd be able to go out and do it. And we're like, no, dude, no, wrong ship. And so you do have to tell people that there's an education process that we do as a community, but then there's also education that people need to do for themselves, right? About learning about the game. But I think that FOMO thing, if you've been around here any length of time, you shouldn't be caught up in that at this point.
No,
there's no way. Because now back in the day, I'll tell you when FOMO was really prevalent. It was back when we couldn't get ships in the game. Before you can rent and buy ships in the game. Because at that time, if you had a Carrack, there was no rental kiosk for me to go get one.
Okay.
So the only way I could get one is either if you spawn one for me or I've spent money on it. That was it.
Gotcha.
So back then, I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just saying I understand where it came from because people saw people flying around in their prospector and it's like they're mining and I can't mine because the rental of ships is not in the game yet. But now that that's in there, there's no reason for people to have FOMO.
Now, the second thing I wanted to say, J2 real quick.
That was J Voodoo.
Right. Sorry, not J2. Apologies. J Voodoo said about customer service, about, saying a word. Recently, I just watched a video today, Linus Tech Tips, right? He got hacked.
Right.
Now, not to go into all of the details in it, he mentioned certain part in his video when he talked about Google and certain things like about being able to communicate to your customer was very important because yes, a lot of times, the customer may not be able to give information that may be able to really rectify the situation, but sometimes, giving more of an answer than just saying, hey, we're working on it, we're investigating this issue, So it becomes, like you said, that rapport between you and your customer is very, very essential because that's really what it's going to come down to. Once the game goes live and all of that stuff, your customer service is going to really have to be top notch.
Exactly. That's a good point. And mind you, it doesn't have to be where people can write in and write letters. I mean, that's going to be too overwhelming, right? But there needs to be a protocol, like you said. There's a certain level of, there are those instances where you say we're down, we're working on it, right? Because we get that, right? We get that. But after a certain time frame, You know what I mean? If it's been 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, you know, people are like really at this point wondering what's going on. It's moved to that level now, right? Not that it's broken, but what's going on. And to your point, I think you're absolutely right. Being able to have someone, I don't know who it is, you know, tech-wise, customer service, but somebody who responds and say, hey, here's where our troubles are. Guys, don't worry about it. Don't be resetting your computer. You know, they told us not to do the reset, but it didn't go into any whatever about it other than just don't do the reset, you know. But they had told people, hey, it's not your computers, gang. Hold tight. It's not your installers. It's our back end. We're in transition. This is amazing. You know, just to remind people, you know, because a lot of people don't keep up with, they don't watch the SCLs. They don't watch the ISCs, right? They just know that the game is out and that's it, you know? Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Fist. Good stuff.
Thank you.
All righty. Last but not least, let's bring in Pops. We're going to hit our next subject. Pops in space. You're back.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah. Okay. All right. You know, I understand the uninstalling of the game. I get that. The only problem is the post itself, and you alluded to it. If it's become more personal, and it's kind of like we mentioned this the other day. We turn the game into Frankenstein, and you know we want to go after the game, and we want to hunt it down, and we, you know, with the posts that we do, and it is are the posts aiming at CIG or at the community, so the community gets in that, you know, gets their pitchforks and their, you know, things out and goes, you know, marching in there. And, you know, I don't know what they expect. It's a game in development. You know, it's not Frankenstein, but if you gotta uninstall it to keep your sanity, then do that.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I've said this before. A couple weeks ago, we were on the show talking. I said, you know, I think that there's a hunger and a desire for something very, very different in gaming. And some gamers are truly looking for that great experience. They've been disappointed by other games, other launches, other propaganda, you know, other things that look so good, and then ultimately it either flopped or within 2 months they're playing something else. You know what I mean? And I think people see the possibility of Star Citizen. In fact, a lot of people talk about the possibility. The question is whether or not it will ever come to fruition, right? Will it actually happen? Will the things that Chris Roberts say actually be there, or will they not achieve the ambitious goal that they've laid out there? So I think that sometimes the frustration of backers is driven by their honest desire to want the game.
Exactly.
To want something different, to want that final thing that they you know, they've gambled on a lot of other stuff in the past, but here's one gamble that they actually think could actually happen. You know what I mean, Pops? But it also brings frustration. You know, if you've been around 10 years, yeah, I mean, if you've been around for 10 years, you know, and you say to yourself, you know, he mentioned Squadron 42 several times in the message, and Squadron was supposed to be out a long time ago, right? I've always said I thought that Star Citizen would take a long time, but I didn't think Squadron was going to take as long as Star Citizen. I didn't. I knew the universe would, but I didn't think Squadron was going to take this long. But it has. Now that's a long time to wait. A long time to wait when you know about it from the beginning. Now, most games, as you and I both know, would have started in 2012. We wouldn't have heard about it till like maybe 2017, 2018, maybe at an E3 or Gamescom or something, right? Then 3 years later, 4 years later, 2, 3, 4 years later, the game comes out. That's not how this worked. That's how most people's gaming, you know, cycle has worked. This game didn't do that. It's a little bit different, right? I
just want to briefly touch on the Squadron 42 thing. If Squadron 42 would have come out a few years ago and it would have come out like trash, right? Or maybe just very mediocre.
I don't know. We don't know enough about it, so I can't tell, Pops. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm just saying if it would have come out like that, you know, that would be a worse scenario than the waiting to me, because the wait to me is at least they're adding better technology, better AI and things like that. So, you know, I kind of do understand.
And that could have been the factor, Pops. You're right. Or it could have lost its steam, because when we play Squadron 42, the idea was that when you play Squadron 42, you exit out of that and start playing in the universe. Exactly. So if Squadron, let's say the Squadron looked great and played great and the story was great back in 2017, You know, what would happen in that languishing period between now and then? Would people still want to play Star Citizen? Maybe they would. You know,
Yep.
I think the hype will be better if you can come out of Squadron and go into it. But you know, we'll see, right? We'll be around. Hopefully, we'll be around to see what the game is, right? When it's all said and done, right? Well, yeah, but I'm getting old, so I don't know. I'm hoping so, brother. All right,
you better run because I'll come get you.
Okay, all right, pops. Thanks a lot, brother. All right, let me bring in DK, and then I'm going to bring in Kai. I don't know which one of you guys was there first, so please forgive me if I got it backwards. DK, how are you, man?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in here. Other than the crash, I'm fine.
I know. I saw that come up and I was like, that blinked out. I was like, something happened, spike or something.
Yeah.
And then we were all conversating. It's like,
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you guys hanging around.
Yeah, no problem. So I was gonna jump on this, dude. When I read through it, and I was in here and I was reading through it while I was waiting, and there's a couple things that come up. Now, Pops made a really good point. Who's it for? Pops were talking about that. Who's it for? Is it for CIG? Is it for the community? Who's it for? And so that comes to, my point of, I get annoyed. I'm going to say I get angry or anything like that. I get annoyed with those kinds of posts. It goes back to that who's it for. I mean, if they're telling everyone that they are uninstalling and quitting, what do they expect CIG to do? To come and hold their hand and say, we're sorry, here's a pat on the back, we'll give you extra credits in the game or whatever, we expect them to make you feel better. We want them to say, oh, we'll finish the game tomorrow, or something like that. I mean, it's kind of like, what do you expect CIG to do other than say, it's taking long because we're working on making things better, I guess. Yeah. I don't know the best way to put it. I'm not defending CIG. This was a botched launch. It was horrible. But I'm in here now, and I bounce in servers just to find a working kiosk so I can claim a ship. It's just like, this is crazy. But then the other thing that kind of annoys me is just the old idea of needing to publicize it. If it's for the community, it sounds like he's just searching for validation. It's just looking for somebody to make him feel good about doing it, or looking for an argument just to start an argument. It's kind of like, if I was in a position of wanting to get out of something, like I'm done with it, I don't feel the need to go to their main community and tell everybody I'm out of here.
I'm just gone.
Why are you here then? It's just like, I'm not going to go back to the forums and start an argument.
It goes to what you just said a second ago when you talk about why is it being posted. And I honestly believe, DK, this is just my opinion. I honestly believe when people do this, it's because they do want the game. You know what I mean? They're not trying to throw shade at it. It's just that they're just so frustrated and they don't know what to do with that frustration. So what do? They go to the community and express the frustration. Then at the same time, it's like, you're right. There is some validation. They want somebody to say, yeah, that's the right. Yeah, and it's such a weird place to be in, because I only, again, when I look at somebody who's been in here 10 years, and again, I don't want to say this about everybody. I just kind of feel like if you've been around 10 years, you should know how it's played.
You should kind of know.
At this point.
Yeah,
at this point.
It really is.
And if you're that frustrated, you should be, hey, listen, Kerbal Space just came out too. Hey, there you go. Have fun with it. You know what I mean? Relax. Do you have to uninstall it? Well, to me, that's like more of a psychological move. Like, you know what I mean? Because I can just stop playing it. I just don't click in.
Understand being frustrated.
But when I unsubscribe it, that says that it really is bothering me. I gotta uninstall it. That's like my pushback, because I'm angry at this game. And so it's like, no, dude. We try, DK. We've told people all the time, take a break. Take a break. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I take breaks all the time. I did not play 17, 5, or 4 or whatever.
Yeah, don't put all the eggs in the basket with this game. Just don't. I mean, if you can't, and when I say if you can't handle it, I'm not saying it in a negative way by all. I'm saying check your mental health. It takes some serious fortitude to play this sucker. It does. Yeah. It takes to stay in this thing, to go for this ride is no small task. It is not easy. I'm not going to even try to tell people, you're just a baby. No, it is difficult because all of us want this thing. All of us want this thing to happen,
And people, don't stress yourself out for this.
Yes.
You build up a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
It starts causing problems for you. It starts causing problems for people around you. It makes it more difficult for you, for your own personal health,
Yes.
and it's just like, this is not that important, or at least it shouldn't be at that kind of a level that it stresses you out because you can't jump into the game because you're having login issues.
Absolutely.
I get it. It's a great, we're playing an amazing project or watching it get built, but just chill out. It's okay. Have a drink.
Yeah.
Play Kerbal.
There you go. Well,
All right, I'm gonna let Kai go.
Hey, listen, if nothing else, he got like a good 70, 80 gig back on his hard drive for now. So there you go.
Oh, man, that's right. That's a lot of space for Steam games.
And by the way, don't forget, we got our friends are coming back next week, right?
Yep, that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what you heard. Okay,
so sometimes they don't.
Well, make sure your boy. Well, I heard your boy called me up and told me that the player haters are going to be back next Saturday. So I just wanted to, make sure that you knew about it.
That's awesome, dude. That's perfect. I can't wait.
Okay, all right. We'll look forward to seeing them next week then. Okay, all right, bro. Thanks a lot. All right, let me bring in the last one, Kai, and then we're going to hit our next topic. Kai, you there?
All right. I want to warn you before you get a lot of people mad at you writing in and calling and whatnot. Do not tell people to play Kerbal 2 right now.
I know
when it dropped,
it's
like every other game.
I know it's buggy.
When it dropped, literally they were calling it Kerbal 2 FPS because you were getting 2 frames
I
per second if you were lucky.
I heard. Yes.
So just wanted to make sure we got to be careful there. But
True.
that's that's illustrating the point. I'm a lover of Kerbal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Kerbal 2 will be awesome in 3 months to 6 months.
Absolutely.
Kerbal 1 was a mess when it dropped, and then it became, over the next decade, it became a masterpiece. So in a way, I want to take a different viewpoint than everybody else.
Sure.
I want to applaud this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically doing exactly what I said. If you can't have fun with it right now, go away.
Yeah.
You paid. It's still there.
Yeah.
In 5 years, when Star Citizen drops, and it's actually not a buggy mess, but it is a cool project that everybody wants to play, he's put in his money. He gets it. He gets it. He re-downloads it, and boom. And I think that I want to salute everyone who is gonna be miserable and bitching and moaning and complaining and grumbling and have ulcers and be like their life is less happy and they feel stressed and miserable. Yes, do what this guy did. Walk away. Go play other stuff. You can come back to this later. Now, to the second point on why did he have to make a shitty post on his way out the door? That's because it's 2023, and that's how people do. Like, whatever. I would shrug that post off. I'm sure CIG, people are asking, like, well, what's CIG supposed to do? Hold his hand, offer him stuff? No, they're going to go, okay, bye. We'll see you in 4 years when it works.
Right.
You're going to re-download it. You've paid. You've got it. I think, and to your point, the thing that gets people emotionally invested and actually, I think, really generates anger and hatred and venom is people being angry at themselves and embarrassed. I don't know of a single person that dropped $45 on a Mustang or an Aurora, got the game, and is super pissed off
about the 45
that
bucks.
it's taken so long. But if you buy the hype,
if you cross that threshold
and you go in, and all of a sudden you're an admiral, and there you're spending $200 like a fucking weirdo to buy a shirt with a little lion on it, and you're doing this. And okay,
hey, leave my shirt alone. Leave my concierge shirt alone.
Hey, look, but like, if you're that guy,
you're right.
And you're happy, if you have the lion shirt and you're happy, God bless you. That's perfect.
Right.
But if you have the lion shirt and you're super mad, you got no one to be mad at but yourself. Did your father not raise you right? You're grown.
Yeah.
You're putting $10,000 or $1,000 or $80,000 on a video game. If you got it like that, to where $40,000 on a video game, if you're like the poets, like I want to be very clear. I'm not shitting on the poets crowd. If you're one of those guys where it's like, hey man, I live in Beverly Hills and drive a Ferrari and I do investment banking and I spent $40,000 on this game last year and that's the fourth most expensive hobby I have. So what? I'm having fun.
Right.
Or even if you're a school teacher making $60,000 a year, if you're putting in $20,000 on Star Citizen and you're happy, I don't care what your life situation is. If you're happy and it's your money, you know, spending responsibly doesn't mean don't spend your money.
Right.
It means don't spend more than you're comfortable with.
There
Don't
you
spend
go.
more than your family is comfortable with.
That's right.
Don't put your business or your household or your marriage or your kids' happiness or whatever in jeopardy over your thing. There's some guys that like to go out and spend $400 every weekend playing a couple rounds of golf and having a steak dinner and a bottle of scotch.
That's right.
If that makes you happy and you can afford it, mazel tov. But if you're going to get bitter about it, then be a grown person and make the decision not to do stupid stuff that's going to make you miserable later.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe for some of these guys that have to make their little shitty post out the door, there might be a little bit of the like, I wish I hadn't have spent $3,000. Well, nobody forced you to, man.
Right.
Nobody forced you to.
That's true.
I'm very happy with the money that I spent on this game.
Yeah.
But I closed my wallet a long time ago. But I'm still a happy supporter.
Right.
You know, whatever.
Right. Okay.
All right,
Kai.
Later.
Thank you, brother. All right. Last but not least, we just had Admiral Kusanagi pop in. We're going to talk to him, and then we're going to go to our next topic. Admiral Kusanagi, how are you?
Hey guys, good afternoon.
Good. It's just me.
Oh, everybody on the chat. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I just you know, it's as everyone kind of knows, I haven't really been following the game for quite a while here.
Well,
But,
no, everyone doesn't know it, but they know it now because you announced it.
They know it now. So it's just, you know, it's kind of like it was an interesting thing. I kind of hovered over the you know the nail of what you guys are talking about, and I'm like, oh, let me see what they're talking about. And I've did the same thing. I actually had to refresh my computer. I didn't reinstall the game, and I killed the newsletters since December. Everything was like kind of 318. I was going to hit the PTU, and then I said, you know what? They're talking about the end of first quarter, so I'm like, it's at least March they're talking about. So I'm just going to take a break because everybody's playing the PTU, and I'm a little stressed out with the game. And I've been having an okay time. I am well into Concierge. I don't really think that I have an issue spending that much money. I envision that I might probably go for the F8 eventually. I'm desperately waiting for Squadron 42, and I'm desperately trying to get information in October to hopefully they'll have some Squadron 42 information. Since they're doing it in LA, I'm kind of I'm hoping for some big news there.
Yeah.
Maybe Henry Cavill and maybe Gillian Anderson will pop out on stage. So maybe then this might be the year to visit and watch the show. But I've been saying that for the past couple Squadron 40, the last October events. Yeah, I've been like, oh, they're definitely gonna have some information this year, and I get steamrolled each time. But I think maybe the LA that might not happen, but that might happen. But does this person need to say that screw this game, I'm uninstalling it? Probably not, but I think Kai has a good point of being at 2023, and that's a thing.
Yeah.
Do I have animosity towards Star Citizen? Hell no. I love Star Citizen. I tell people I play this other MMO. I'm not gonna try to. I know everybody. I know you know about it, but I actually was chatting and the other day, and I'm like, oh yeah, if you're feeling like you want something new, you should try Star Citizen. But it's it's got some bugs, but it's great when it doesn't.
Yeah.
And somebody else is like, oh yeah, I play Star Citizen too, so yeah, so. It's a beautiful game. If you can get it with a bunch of people, it makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't feel that people should be grinding all the time, but just because it's it is an alpha or what some think is pre-alpha. But it definitely, you can create some really memorable hilarious times playing Star Citizen. And for those that can get into it and don't mind a bug or two, or don't mind the half hour it took you to get into the game, then you could have a good time. Personally, I'm just like, I want storylines, and I want to be able, like, I've been playing this game and I've just been like, wow, I can't believe that happened, and I'm just like, wow, that's great. So that's what I kind of want right now in my life, is to have the to watch a novel go by, and that's what I'm. I know Squadron 42 is supposed to be like the new Mass Effect. It's supposed to be 3 separate games, three RPGs, and then you rolls into the persistent universe. So that's what I'm looking for from Star Citizen. I don't know if I'm really. That's why I joined Star Citizen. I can't remember how I differentiated Squadron 42 to Star Citizen, but I mean, it's 2023, and that's kind of what it is now. I know a lot of people think about Star Citizen as the persistent universe, and they kind of put Squadron 42 on the side. But that's where I'm at, and I don't want to hold a grudge against this person because it's exactly what I did. But yeah, it is what it is, and I still looking forward to Star Citizen in a more finished rate. Like, I've been getting little snapshots of talking to you in the community and other people here in chat after you guys do your thing. Again, this is the first time I've actually watched your show in quite some time. It's just like I hear something people talking like, oh, we can do this now. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So it's interesting, and I imagine when I'm kind of taking 2023 off from the game, and so I'm hoping in December that I can get back into it and see what is new and exciting and kind of blows my socks off. But I think everything is really going to depend on the October show, and I haven't really I haven't even like caught what was the last sale was the
would have been
the Irish sale, the St. Patrick's Day sale. So for tuna. So I didn't even catch that. So
well, let me say this, Admiral. First off, first of all, for those of you who don't know, Admiral Kusanagi is one of our moderators, and he had contacted me late toward last year and said, "Hey, I'm going to take a break from the game," and I was like, "Good, do it," and I'm glad he did, because I also know, even though he's talking about he's taking a break from the game, I also know how passionate he is about the game. He was running an org. He's been faithfully supporting us here with the Soul Citizens, become a very good friend. And my concern for him was, well, dude, I didn't say, well, what are we going to do about a moderator? That wasn't the issue. The issue was, and we say it all the time, people, you need to protect yourself, because something, and I've never said this to you, Admiral, Tyler, I think it was Tyler said this one day when it was during one of our bar citizens, if I'm not mistaken, it was either him or Jarrett, but I think it was Tyler. He said, a lot of the people who raise Cain and raise hell about this game, it's not that they don't like the game. He said, in fact, it's the other way around. It's the fact that they do like the game, that they do want to see it succeed. And what we interpret often a lot of times as a lot of hate or salt is quite often really the fact that they really, really, really just want to see this game happen. And so it takes a lot, because it's very easy to drift toward the side of, well, they're just salty or they're just angry. Don't get me wrong. There are some salty and angry people out there. But CIG's perspective is those same people are also the people who, as Kai said, when it gets released, they'll be right back playing it. They'll probably want to. It is frustrating. This is a unique development process that none of us as gamers have ever gone through. We've been through early access and betas, blah, 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 blah. But I've been gaming for 40 plus years. I never remember a game where I sat here and listened to developers, saw documentation, spent hundreds of hours reading, researching, following up. It is an all-consuming process, and it's very passionate, because they are trying to present something that most of us as gamers not only have not seen, but have wanted for a long time. And that is stressful. We all know how video games mess with our dopamine and all this other stuff and whatnot. That's a reality, and you got to protect that. And I'm telling everybody that. Protect it. If you need to take a break, if you need to stop playing, even if it's to the point of uninstalling, if it's the fact that you need to cut off subscriptions so you're not constantly reminded of Squadron 42 and reports, do that. Have fun, because gaming is supposed to be about gaming. It's about fun. It's about a place, an escape to go to where you can enjoy yourself. If it starts to become a burden or a monkey on your back, then you need to step back. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You said it. There's one thing is that the gaming community has. It's like it's the fear of missing out, whether it be buying a ship or playing the game. And there's people that come in here and be like, "Oh, the ion is too strong. It's got size 7s, or they nerfed the ion." And it's just like they're gonna change these things multiple times.
Yeah.
It's the way I see it. I'm like, you want a ship that does what they say? They have never ever, and I'll stop my ramble real quick. But they have never taken anything away from the game. If they put something in the game and said, "Hey, we're going to do medical," everything has actually been multiplied and to how more complex it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I have no fear that like some mechanic in say refining is going to be dumbed down. But I think it's just going to be so like, and they want careers to be very, very just like 100%. Like if you're a miner, you're a miner, and you just love it. And this is where I personally I like having like one character and trying to do a few of them myself. But that's besides the point. But that's where I'm at, and I wish everybody the best of time in the game, and I hope you can get into the servers, because I know that's a thing now and then. Well, I can tell you. I'm going to tell you now. We're going to need you to moderate when we go to CitizenCon if you don't go, okay? Because we're going to try to do a stream from there. So that maybe because you'll be watching to see. I know you're going to be watching to see what happens. So that's why I'm just giving you fair warning now, okay? They're like, Admiral, what's going on with the stream? I'm like, I don't know. My Juggernaut, I'm fighting this Jedi, and I got to kill him.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks for stopping in, Admiral.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Okay, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Oh, you know what? Is my stuff here? Oh yeah, it is still here. Okay, cool. All right, we got through that one. That took a long time, but you guys shared a lot of good stuff. Let's jump to Reddit. We're going to leave Spectrum and go to the wonderful world of Reddit. We're going to change the tone a little bit here, but we are going to talk about something that's in 3.18 that I found very interesting. This is another post. This was in Reddit, in the Star Citizen Reddit, and someone said, "My duty as a citizen is cleaning up Area 18 while my ships are getting claimed." And believe it or not, this is one of the pictures that was in the Reddit, and this is what they put in. But here's the interesting thing. I came across this picture. Now, we talked about this a few weeks ago when we were talking about gowns. Some of you guys may have been here for that. We were talking about, people leaving their gowns. Is there some incentive for putting things away? Should CIG give you some money? All types of stuff like that. I'm freaking OCD. I swear, I've gone around and picked up bottles and cans and put them in the garbage can. I have. I'm one of those weird people that have done that. There are other people who use stuff and just discard it and throw it out. Nope, I'm not beefing about that. I'm just saying that's different ways people play. But let me ask a question. I have thrown out this presumption, my theory, that Chris Roberts is actually trying to create something different. And I'm not just talking about gameplay, but the way we play games, right? And I'm not the only person. A friend of mine, Reload, who's in test, he told me he actually says he's running test custodial services. And he said the other day he was actually picking up some stuff in the game and somebody yelled at him for cleaning up, right? My question is, does this become a different aspect of gameplay? Now, mind you, I'm not talking about gaining reputation or points or anything like that. But what I'm saying is Chris Roberts creating a world that we actually care about? Beyond just going in and having an experience, but that we actually care about the world. That's something different. That we see something in the game that's not right, and then we actually respond to it on an emotional or psychological level. Listen, this is the poster. This is what the poster put up. Poster was saying, "Oh, I'm picking up a few bottles and everything." And you can see their stuff scattered on the ground. But the other picture you saw was one that I took. I happen to be, I live at Area 18. I happen to going past, y'all know that concession stand is right there before you get on your ship. And I looked up and this was sitting there. I didn't do this. This was sitting there. Somebody took the time, maybe while they were waiting on their ship, or maybe on their way back, or they just stopped and decided to clean up. What are your thoughts about that? Is this going to be something that changes the way people play a game? That on my way to my ship, I saw some stuff on the ground and I picked it up? And mind you, there's no incentive in the game right now. I mean, there is some. You can turn this stuff in and get a little bit of money. But I'm just saying, it took time. Whether you put down 1 bottle or 10 bottles, it took time to do this. Give me your thoughts. I'm going to bring in Pops real quick and see what he's got to say. Pops, you there? Pops is muted. Let's see. Maybe Pops stepped away. All righty. I'm going to bring in ODZ and we'll bring Pops back because ODZ is waiting. Odie, you there?
Hey, how's it going, man?
How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Yeah, my mic was messing up, but I actually wanted to answer the previous question, but it's okay since you've moved on.
Okay.
About this, I'm actually excited for it, you know? It's kind of cool that people are doing it like without any incentive, you know, like you said, right? And I guess now we just have to figure out what CIG is going to do because like in most games, you know, you have to destroy certain items for the sake of the economy.
Right.
So I'm thinking that they should probably, I don't know, if they're going to change the receptacles so that, you know, whenever you deposit something in there, maybe like after 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour or whatever, or maybe at the end of like 24 hours, it'll just automatically just delete everything in there.
Right. Oh, don't get me wrong. I know they're going to put some tech in to manage, like you said, manage the economy, resources, right?
Right.
But I'm talking about us as gamers, psychology for us.
I mean,
go ahead.
It's an interactive game, right? Because the one thing that I've been playing a lot of games, and the one thing I'm noticing is, you know, when people say immersive, it means very different things than what we're used to playing Star Citizen, right?
Yeah.
For them, immersive mainly means like, you know, maybe the ambiance is good, maybe the music, whatever, right? But for us, it's a little bit more visceral, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we have greater levels of interaction with the game world.
Right.
So, I mean, like you were saying, someone took the time to do all this, right? To put these things on there, right? I mean, I've done it, but not to this many. Maybe like I've cleaned up maybe like 5 or 6.
Right.
And this is another thing. I think that they actually have to change how they structure where these are because I don't know if you know when you go to New Babbage, right? You go to the common area. I think it's Twins.
Yes.
You know, they sell the sandwiches and stuff.
Yes.
There's no trash
The garbage can there, right? Somebody else
there.
complained about that. There's no trash can there.
Right. And I'm thinking there is one, but it's kind of like on the
go all
way
the way around.
out.
Right.
Like it's towards the other area. I think it's towards like the is it the rock climbing wall? I think that's where it's at. Either that way or to the other side where you go into the you know, the place where you get was it Shubin mining and all that stuff.
Right.
It's either one of the two areas. And I'm like, that right there, that's a problem in design.
Right.
Put them there, and then players will automatically do. You need to incentivize this type of behavior as well.
Yeah.
Because if it was easy to do, then you wouldn't have people just dropping them off on the floor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then another thing, obviously, they have to fix, because I know for some, I don't know if you know this. Okay, depending on what can you buy, the, I think it's the shorter cans, rake animations, right? Like when you're putting it to your mouth, whatever, and then when you're done with it, you just drop it.
It just drops, yeah.
Right, but other ones, I think it's the taller ones.
When
you're done, it stays in your hand. So things like that will help, and then maybe making it like an easier way to pick things up and put them down. I'm hoping with the new interaction system that'll be a lot easier. But you mentioned something, but okay. So where do you go to turn these in for money?
You're a kiosk,
like a regular kiosk.
It's a regular kiosk.
Okay.
I mean, not a ship kiosk, obviously, but yeah, trade.
You know what this is going to spawn?
Something.
This is going to spawn. I'm pretty sure someone's going to do it. I don't know if it's going to be during development or at release, but someone's going to buy their first ship through recycling bottles only. Okay? Can you imagine that?
That'd be hilarious.
You know, especially if they can physicalize it, right?
Yep.
You can grab yourself a little like a cart or something, and you just have bottles and bottles inside it, and then you cart them over to a kiosk, and then you get your money, get paid, right?
Shady Face says you could do it at an admin office. Did I do that at an admin office or did I do it at a trading kiosk? I can't remember now, but I know I did it once because somebody told me and I didn't believe you could do it. Because it's like same with the gowns. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if somebody does do that. I agree. Somebody will probably do it. You're right.
I think somebody's going to do it. I mean, we're going to find people who do strange things. Like one person's probably going to like never leave. Like New Babbage or whatever.
You know,
right?
To your point, someone said that what the other incentives that they could do is that you gain reputation in the city that you're in. So, for example, if I'm in area 18 like this and I'm disposing my garbage, there's an incremental, small incremental thing, right? Because we're going to be drinking and eating all the time. But when we do it, there's some type of plus to the government of R Corp, that I'm there. So maybe, who knows? Maybe it means that my reputation is so good that I can carry my pistol when I walk through customs. I don't know. But they can come up with some weird incentive. Or maybe you get a discount, or maybe if there's taxes, your taxes fee goes down. I mean, there's all types of weird stuff they could create to build also some type of in-game incentive. But I was really, and you did touch on it, I was really interested in what's the psychological thing going on here with people who are stopping. As much as we place, one of the biggest things people complain about in Star Citizen is it takes time to get my ship, get loaded, get myself ready.
Right.
But then we see people actually stopping
to do this. And I actually think it's a good thing, and then, okay, I don't know if they're going to do this, but with the way they're doing missions, they're modular and all that stuff, right? So it's possible that maybe they could be like janitorial missions in the future, to help with all this. I don't know, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Can end up happening, and that way, that'll further incentivize people to care about the universe that they're in.
And to your point, that also explains why. I remember a while back when CIG first talked about AI, they talked about the janitor.
Exactly.
Back then, we weren't thinking about it, right? We laughed, right? It's like, what's the big deal with the janitor? But now we can see why having a janitor walking around picking up stuff that's on the game will make sense. It'll be their way to immersively remove those items without them just popping up and disappearing. You know what I mean?
Even thinking about what you just said, the amount of tech that's required, because remember, if it's something that is, programmed by the game, right? For AI to do, that's easy for a janitor to come and clean up. But players are notorious for putting things in weird places, okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know if an AI can necessarily clean up
climb up on top of the big biddies machine that we tossed the bottle up on.
It'll be so weird. And the fact that you can throw these items as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that they might actually need to implement some type of janitorial mission for players to take.
Yeah. They've got the one where we remove the dead body, so why not, right? I mean, it could be something
for
like
sure.
that.
And I really hope that they give players options to do stuff other than fly. Because I remember, like we said before, people right now are self-selecting, right? The hardest of the hardcore are back in the game, and that's the reason why a lot of them want to be pilots. But I think when the game actually releases, judging by the trends of most MMOs, pilots are going to be like the minority, the vast minority.
Absolutely.
So you need to give people incentive to do stuff on the ground, right? And not a lot of people, if you judge by most MMOs, people don't generally like to fight. They're mainly in MMOs for the social aspect, right? So if in social spaces you give them other ways to interact with the game world and to have fun, make money, whatever, right? Things like that. Maybe, having because you could tie it into other things, like maybe there's a mission or whatever, you go clean up over here and then you carry the box over here. They'll give you, more money when you do that, right? That could be further incentivizing people to live, to feel as though they're living in the game world. And I don't know. I think that would be the way.
It's good immersion. No, I love it. I love the idea. I think it's great. All right, Odie. Thank you, man. Always brings in good stuff with us. All righty. Let's bring in Pops. Oh, Colossal popped out. Let me get Pops in space in. I was going to do Colossal after that, but maybe he'll come back. Pops?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Sorry about that. I was,
okay.
No problem. I was muted.
Yeah, no problem. I knew you'd be back.
Yeah. You brought up an excellent point. I did not think about that. Janitorial rep. Yeah. That's cool, because we know janitorial's coming, because somebody got to clean up those exploding toilets. That's gonna be in the game. So yeah,
okay.
Mops and buckets,
right? Another career. Yeah. All right,
there you go. And to the point, is Chris Roberts creating a game that we love? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I think it like Anna said, part of the community, the reason I believe part of the community that makes it so is because we all are in love with the game. The people that respect, there's some that spend their off time. Anna, streaming, you like the number one Because, yeah, you spend your off time preparing and doing all these things for the love of the game.
Yeah.
So, yep, I believe he is. So.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Pops. Very cool. All right. Colossal, come back wherever you went. I want to talk to you anyway. All right, let me bring in Fist to Face. Fist,
Hello.
you're back.
Yes.
Yes, sir. By the way, guys, you guys can click on the link and come in if you want to talk to us. Yeah, go ahead, Fist.
So, to the question, my duty as a citizen, clean up Area 18. Now, janitorial duty is a cool thing.
Okay.
Now, here's my thing, though, to this.
Mhm.
I want to see the janitorial position, if it comes into the game, spawn into an espionage gameplay.
Oh, Lord. You hear theory crafted on me. Okay.
Come on now. Stop it. Think about it.
You going to put on your janitor's uniform and broom
Think
and sweep
about
around and listen to conversations.
Hitman
and
47.
be a hitman.
Yes, I love that game. Come on, Rick. You know it. You know what time it is.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Not to be funny. We did see a hint of that idea. Remember when they did the thing when they went to Pyro 3 and the person went and snuck in and got the uniform for the other people and put it on so they could get by and sneak in? That
Right.
you may not be too far off on them coming up with some stuff like that. I don't know if it'll be the janitor, but I hear what you're saying.
Hey,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
That'd be cool because guess what? Who overlooks who? When you think about it in the world, who has the ability, right? Who is in close proximity within businesses, right? That can get their hands on information but are overlooked.
The bartender.
Bartenders, correct. You are correct. You are correct. No, you're correct though. But that is a true answer.
Yeah.
That is a true answer.
Yeah.
Bartender, like you said, a custodial person, right? You know, hey, you know, you sitting there mopping the floor and you talking about it, right?
Well, let me say this. They told us when they put Wally's bar in at New Babbage that one of the bartenders there was going to be an informant for getting certain missions and stuff, right? And you've talked about this before about overhearing conversations, knowing who you could talk to. Remember when I was just using an example about what happens if the incentive is when you put garbage in, away that there's a reputation build? Maybe the reputation build happens to be that when you go over to the custodian, he saw that you were cleaning up and he shares some information with you.
See?
But if you'd have got those garbage down, he doesn't talk to you. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
CIG could create a whole lot of dynamics around this that both give incentive, whether you do it just because you got OCD like me, or whether you want to be able to gain reputation within a city. There's a lot of cool stuff. And to your point, they could come up with things like that. Roles missions like that are based around you go do this job, but really you're going to go do such and such. I don't see that as being far out at all. Okay? Not at all. Okay, brother.
Exactly.
Let me get these other two brothers in here.
Yep.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Let me see. I drug Dark Knight out by accident. I didn't mean to do that. Let me bring Dark Knight in and take Fist out. I grabbed the wrong one. And then I'll bring Colossal in. DK.
Hey.
Yes, sir. What you got?
I'm going to try to keep this quick.
Okay.
Area 18 is a right mess right now.
Don't talk about my
clean up
home.
from time to time, but it is a right mess right now. I walk out of my ham and I see just trash.
I know.
And there's a garbage can right there. Come on, people. Didn't your mama teach you better than that? Pick up after yourselves.
Yep.
Put it in the trash.
Wait a minute. That might be their real selves, if you know what I mean.
You know what? That's true. That might actually be themselves. No. I don't know. I've picked up from time to time. Like, you got those gowns sitting around all over the place and bottles everywhere. And I picked them up from time to time. In fact, I stack them when I'm at Arc L1. I'll stack them next to one of the kiosks and just leave them there. But now that I think about it, I'll just grab them and start selling them.
Well, we know the CIG said they are going to build an algorithm that deals with, litter and stuff, right? So we know it's coming. Like I said, I was kind of coming more from the psychological aspect of it. Not necessarily what makes one player do it, not because I get it. Other people, they rush and they drink, they bottle, they go, right? And nothing wrong with that. I just was, again, the picture that's on the screen right now is the one that the poster posted, right? And they said they were cleaning up, which is fine. But then when I happened to go just yesterday, I saw that. And I was like, wow, what's driving a person to do this? And now I'm saying, is Chris Roberts also creating a space that actually incentivizes us just to do it psychologically? It's not because, not because I got any score or any points or nothing, but I'm living in this world to that degree. I think ODZ said it, where's that immersive that when I see garbage on the ground, I
pick it up.
Let me pick it up. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it'd be good if they do put more trash cans around.
Yeah.
Just have more around in different places. Like you were talking about New Babbage. There's another one over there by the smoothie bar.
Yes.
And there's right there. But they need to have more trash cans around just for people to have an incentive to throw it in there.
Yeah.
Maybe like you playing basketball, try to throw the bottle into the trash can from across the room. Have some fun with it. It's just like this is a good time to have fun.
You get a free coffee. Get a free coffee from the barista, right? If you throw the coffee cup in, right?
If you get it in there, you get a free coffee, right?
Yeah.
Just something, just at least in a way to incentivize people to keep the area clean. But it's I knew it was going to be a mess. I see stuff all the time walking out of the area 18 Hab. I saw people writing stuff on the ground with bottles and stuff. Just some weird stuff. But this is the time for it. Have fun with it. It'll get serious later down the road. This is just a time to just have a good time. So
absolutely.
CIG, please put in more trash cans so I can play basketball.
There you go. All right, DK. Thank you, brother. All right, and it is interesting that he mentioned about Area 18. That is my home. Like I said, we want to keep it clean. New Babbage, I get it. But there's some people that live in the rat hole. Person who just happened to come into the channel with me right now. If y'all want to junk up Hurston, feel free. Okay. Just teasing. Colossal. Are you there?
I'm going to make sure that I report everything to the Hurstons. So when y'all come up in that system, they are going to treat y'all accordingly.
It's not Grimhex. You're right. Hurston isn't really dirty, to be honest with you. I mean, the city. It's not actually. So it's not Grimhex. That's for sure.
I think if people pay attention to the rule of law, they'll be fine over there.
Okay. Here we go. Dark Lord has arrived.
It's good to talk to you, Griff.
You too.
You mentioned reload and the other aspect of people caring about, putting the game to a different level. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that are in game right now that I think Chris Roberts may allow us to utilize. Mm-hmm. There are security terminals that are in game, especially when you go through Loreville. Mm-hmm. There are areas that are already there. There are windows that you can look through that you see NPCs in there. Yeah. My whole deal is I hope that they allow us to utilize that for reputation. Let's say for those people who love to go to Klesher and be rehabilitated, and you lose reputation points for going to Klesher, you could get those points back by doing community service at those things like that. Or you could go ahead and do the other things that Reload does with its test custodial services and still get reps. We got ships that are not in game right now that we know that if you go ahead and fly, I think by Crusader, you probably know the name. I can't remember the name right now. I'm all over the place. But when they bring those ships in and you start tending to the wealthy or the different level of classes, transportation ships, and you're going to go ahead and get reputation points based off of that, why does it have to stop there? It can go ahead and continue on in the game at the areas like a Hurston or a Microtech or a Crusader, so you can go ahead and build up rep there. So those things, I believe, would add to the quality of life in the game, and they will add for longevity in the game as well. Yeah. So I think they're leaning towards that. If not, they're going towards that situation. But there are things that are just look around. There are things that are in game right now that makes you wonder how we're going to use this. Whether it be tools or whether you're looking around, you see NPCs walking around, or you just look at other videos that CIG has put out, like a Star Citizen Live years ago, that you can sit there and look back and say, okay, I see where they're going with this. So I think a lot of this is going to help out with the reputation system, and it'll be interesting to see how people utilize that. Also, our role playing would definitely go along well with that. There are people or communities that would probably hold classes or teaching classes about the government in that area or things like that, or about lore. So you're going to see that part come in the game too, because you're going to see a lot of those lore fearing, those lore having organizations that's going to preach nothing but lore, and they're going to give you role play based off of lore on that. So it's going to be interesting to see all that.
No, that's a very good point. We do have plenty of actually role playing orgs that exist already in Star Citizen. I really appreciate it. Let me say this real quick. First of all, Pops in Space, Axis, and Space Clown, thank you guys so much for the subs. I'm sorry I didn't see them when they popped up. Colossal, you hit on something I think is ingenious, because I was talking about reputation within cities. And you talked about that idea of community service when you come out of prison. Maybe that community service ends up being something like that. You do gestures like that, something as simple as just cleaning up, things like that that could be part of your parole, when you come out, now I know for some people that might be burdened, and you don't have to do it. You really don't have to. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if you decide to say, well, I want to have a better reputation when I come in, reputation can work on so many different levels. Reputation could be based upon even what hangars priority you get when you want to land. I mean, there's all types of cool stuff that they could come up with, right? Based on your reputation. Do I have to wait when I arrive at Grimhex because, my reputation, other people who are their reputation is better there, they get to get in for. I mean, it's all types of cool stuff that they could do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at the Banu and the Shion. You're going to have some good reputation to deal with those folks. To deal with them,
even to talk to them, right? To deal with them or trade with them. Absolutely.
So everything in game, I believe, I mean, we all keep talking about the game that we want. This is my last point, Griff. Mm-hmm. We all keep talking about this is the game that we want. Well, if that's the case, then the game that we want may and probably should have things that we do a lot here in the game to keep the game going as far as longevity. And that would be something as simple as community service, as simple as cleaning up around and getting reputation on that, as simple as enforcing law enforcement. Every area is going to have a different type of law enforcement thing going on. So if you put more of those types of things in game, which will allow a different type of gameplay other than the pew-pewers and the bounty hunters and the traders and things like that, that would bring a little bit more excitement and a little bit more, I would guess, realism into the game.
Yep, I agree. It's all good stuff. Thank you, brother. I'm glad you came back. Appreciate you.
No problem.
All righty. Listen, I want to hit a couple of notes here that folks have mentioned here. Let's see. Von Cody says the garbage cans need to be bigger so we can throw the gowns in them. I agree with you 100%. Scavenger says in 318, this is a note, the hospital gown is worth 0 AUEC. It's broken. All right, so that's good to know. So let's just want to do it out of the goodness of your heart. You ain't gonna get no money for putting your selling your gowns. I liked what DCI says. Give us garbage missions and release a garbage truck SRV or SVR variant. That would be interesting. DK appreciates that idea earlier. And Colossal, make sure you take a look at what Nyla said. He talked about your city as he always does, so he threw that in there. Okay, we're going to hit our last point for the day. Now, I am going to just stir the pot a little bit, y'all, so don't get too worked up. I'm having fun with the conversation. But as you guys know, every once in a while, I will go to Reddit's Star Citizen refunds page to see what the refunders are saying. And this was the piece that they had to say this time around. And this is about, what happened with 318. Star Citizen, worse than Cyberpunk. And I guess they were referring to the launch, And we're kind of rehashing what we said earlier. For those of you who weren't here earlier, we talked about the launch based upon how much money was spent and that things failed. ODZ, thank you. Whammer says thank you for that sub.
Thanks for the subscription.
I will say this, and we can make some comparisons if we'd like, if anybody is by the way, if you played Cyberpunk, I'd really want to hear from you if you were there when it launched. And I think there's a comparison to be made here. And we've said this in the past. CD Projekt Red, credible company that people have respected and respect, has put out good product, and much a game that was much anticipated. Cyberpunk, if I'm remembering correctly, began its development in 2011, something around there, 2010, 2011, 2012, almost around the same time as Star Citizen. And as you guys know, for those of you who followed the game, Cyberpunk was announced to come out. They delayed it. They pushed it back. They needed more time. And then the game launched. And then once the game launched, they had a terrible launch. The game basically was not ready for prime time. It's not the first time, right? When games just aren't ready because a publisher says it needs to come out. And we found out later on that there were issues in relation to the relationship that they had with, I think, console makers, that there was a push for trying to get it out for the holidays and some other stuff. And they took a hit. They took a hit with their stock. A whole lot of issues came up with the game. They've been fixing it. They've been working on it. They've gotten it better. People who play it now say it's fabulous. They actually tell people if you didn't play it the first time, come in now. You'll probably really enjoy the game. But they also have not delivered on some things. There were things that people were looking for, like multiplayer use and things of that nature that have not been implemented. And maybe one day they will be implemented into it. It's a beautiful world, but the depth is not there in some areas. The story's great. A lot of other great stuff. Visuals are great. But here's a comparison that the person in the refund says, Star Citizen worse than Cyberpunk. And my response to that is that Cyberpunk was worked on for just about the same amount of time, just a year less maybe than Star Citizen, maybe 2 years or two less. And look at what happened. From a game company that was in existence, that had a track record of putting out good games, that the community respected and loved and looked forward to with great anticipation, that was not funded by a community, but, had publishers and their own money to build the game. And after all that, even after them asking for more time, it still had a difficulty. It still had a problem. In fact, there were a lot of people who pushed through it and played it. And within 2 months, 3 months, they were playing something else. They didn't go back to Cyberpunk because it was done. And Cyberpunk has tried to do some things and add some things to get people to come back. What if that was Star Citizen? What if after 10 years of waiting in anticipation for a company that didn't have a studio, that's had to build itself up over a 10-year period, that has had to build a community that is funded by its community, what if it were to come out and within 2 to 3 months, we were off to the next big thing? I think that there's something to consider here. What are we really asking for? Are we just asking for immediate satisfaction? Are we asking for, something that, because we just want it so badly that we're also not thinking about longevity or the fact that it's successful? Because I guarantee you, if Star Citizen isn't successful, if Squadron 42 isn't successful, it's not like people are going to say, oh, well, they tried. No, people will be ripping into it. They'll talk about it terribly. It'll be considered the worst experiment in gaming history. Guarantee you, if it doesn't succeed. So anyway, I'm going to stop with my preaching because y'all know I'm a preacher, and I'm going to bring Odie Z in. So let me bring in Odie. Odie, you there?
Okay, so you asking the question, right? Is Star Citizen, well, this person's asking the question. Star Citizen worse than Cyberpunk?
Well, they're making a statement.
All I can say is, for you to come to this conclusion, either you're on drugs, you must be drunk, I don't know. How are you comparing a fully released title to one that's still in development? How do you square that circle?
Yeah.
Like, what's the logic behind even looking at it that way? So they're saying that Cyberpunk releasing their game broken is the same as a development build being broken when the devs, first of all, told you it was going to be broken. Second of all, you're in an alpha, so you're supposed to expect instability, bugs, incomplete, systems. I'm confused. Like, are they maybe they're using a different language. Maybe that's where we're missing each other.
Odie, I always tell you, the problem with you is that you're using your brain. You're thinking things through and being logical. And gamers just sometimes aren't thinking things through and being logical.
But don't make declarative statements if you're just making an emotional appeal. Anyone can be like, hey, I feel like this, I feel like that.
Right.
Okay. So we're supposed to discuss your feelings? That's something you need to, consult a therapist for. I'm confused. Like, okay, this is the thing. So they're doing it to malign CIG, right? And this is the thing. I'm wondering, why are they so pressed? Right? There are so many other things you could be doing with your time.
Exactly.
We know you dislike the game.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you take time out to post something about it. I know.
Not only did they post, because this is not on the Star Citizen subreddit. Right,
this is on the refunds Reddit. The Star Citizen refunds Reddit. Yeah.
Think about I actually feel sorry for these people
Mm.
because they must have really terrible lives. If this is where you find solace, because think about it, these guys are salivating at the failure of a game.
Yeah.
Something that's supposed to be for recreational and entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
And you're going out of your way to make sure that everyone knows, one, you don't like it.
Mhm.
Two, it's delayed, even though they haven't given dates since 2016, right?
Right.
I'm confused as to what is the point of this,
I think
other than just a circle jerk.
I think I think that's part of it. I think part of it is we're looking for validation for a decision that they made, a decision that maybe they feel embarrassed about, or the fact that they really, really want it, but they feel out there by themselves with their frustration, and they want somebody to comment and say, "Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is." They that's what they may need at that moment. Listen, like you said, if I don't like something, I don't waste my time on it. Once it's gone, it's done. If I got my refund, done. I'm not going to go to their forum or anybody's forum and spend time writing out a dissertation about why I got my I'm just not going to do that. That's me. I'm not going to put that type of energy into it. But as you and I both know, when it comes to the internet, people got a lot of energy and time, it seems like sometimes, to put into something like this. So, and Odie, you're always a very objective person, but I think you live in a higher plane than some people. It's just that some people, that's not where they are. They'll, like you said, they'll rather laurel in the pig squalor of this instead of just moving on and, playing something else.
This is the thing. Even if we were to take what they're saying as true, okay. So let's just say Star Citizen releases and it's as bad as Cyberpunk. They're not going to be as charitable because what they're doing is you're not even looking at it objectively, right? Because objectively, Cyberpunk actually is a tragic story if you think about it, right? The Witcher 3, acclaimed, wasn't it Game of the Year, right?
Yep.
And then look at what happened. They released Cyberpunk. It bombed.
Yep.
Their support for console was terrible. Actually, they stopped supporting console. Right. Where is that in Star Citizen is worse than they literally stopped supporting a platform that they were supporting. This new expansion that's coming out, right? It won't support it. And on top of that, this is the other thing people don't want to consider when they're thinking of Cyberpunk is Cyberpunk, right? They actually stopped, because you were saying they have a lot of things that they promised that they're not in the game yet. They just stopped that, right? And said, we're just going to release the expansion and that's it, right? And they said, remember before we were going to get as much content as we got with The Witcher 3, right? Which is 2 expansions. Not in this. And on top of that, the only reason why, and let's be honest, the only reason why Cyberpunk is popular now isn't even because of the game. It's because of the anime on Netflix. The resurgence, because people like that anime, people just started playing the game. It has nothing to do with the game being good, okay? Well, it has to do with the world of, Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk is, right, it has resurged and become a popular thing. And I think, and I want to focus in on this too, I think that this was posted in relation to the launch, and you said it earlier. The fact that you can't make the comparison between the game that is from a company that's, putting out a game that's a finished product versus a company that is putting out a game in development. I think you're 100% on point with that. And that's why this is a misleading, conversation when you say it. If you didn't know this came from, when 318 came out, you'd be like, well, what are they talking about? And when we say Cyberpunk bombed, don't get me wrong, Cyberpunk got its sales. It tried to regroup, but it lost a lot of people and it lost a lot of money, and they took a hit in their stock market. Their stocks went down. Whether they've recouped it or not by now, I don't know. All I'm saying is that I know plenty of people that within 3 months, I used to hear about Cyberpunk all the time. Within 60 days, 90 days, nobody was talking about Cyberpunk anymore. They were playing something else. And so, go ahead.
And that specific sub, what were they saying prior to Cyberpunk's release? This is going to be Star Citizen, blah, blah, blah. It's made in less time. It's going to be so much better. I'm like thinking, okay, first of all, they're not even the same. Anyway, whatever. Logic is not their forte. Okay. And then as soon as it comes out and then it bombs, what happens? Silence.
Nothing.
All
the crickets come out.
It doesn't matter. Cyberpunk had problems or whatever, but look, at least it came out. I'm like thinking that's not a rebuttal. Okay. Why would you want to have something released unfinished? And this is the thing, because this is what, if you think about it, that's what they're advocating for. They're like saying, look, you know what? We don't want delays. We just want the game out. Okay. And then the game comes out early. And then what do? You complain about it. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just like, these people, they need to, I don't know, refocus or something, because this is actually quite sad if you think about it. Because these are grown men. These are not even just grown men. These people probably have children, right?
You all please tell Odie that this is just the way people are. I know,
No.
I know. It is.
Okay?
I tell you it's scary. I tell you that about gamers all the time. I agree with you 100%. I'm just not, it just doesn't, I'm just at the point where I get that's just where they are. And I'm not saying it's a good place. I don't think it is a good place, because these guys have heard my speeches about gamers and gaming and how much has changed over the last 20 years. And a part of it is because of the way the industry has done things, the way they put out stuff. It's also part of the responsibility of the gamers, the way they are. It's society. There's a lot of variables here as to why people get so freaking worked up about a freaking video game. And I'm being serious. Listen, I got a lot of money in this game. It's still a video game. Yet people's lives go nuts over video games. They'll smash their computers. They'll bust through their screens. They'll waste thousands of dollars over a game. There's something going on with all that.
But that's the thing, though. For children, that's what we expect.
No. My children ain't busted up nothing. No.
I'm saying that type of
I know what you mean. Immaturity. Maturity. I get it.
Kids. These people are over 30. Some of them 40. Some of them 50, 60, and they. It really hurts me because they can vote. Okay, that's the thing that scares the shit out.
All right, Odie, I gotta get going.
Anyway,
I got 2 more people. Thank you, brother. I don't get Odie all worked up either. My God, I'm about to give him some blood pressure pills. We got 2 more people who are gonna wrap up because we're getting near close time anyway. Pops, you there?
Yeah, yes, I am.
You know,
yes.
Odie, he gets going, man. I love him, but he gets going. It's like, dude, don't even try to figure it out. You're wearing your brain cells out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Didn't say anything that wasn't right.
Yeah, I know he did. Right. Exactly.
No.
What were you gonna say, Pops?
Exactly. What I'm gonna say really briefly is, we mentioned earlier. We talked about Bless, Cyberpunk. I mean, how many games? Just think, how many games can we count that have come out and that have launched incorrectly, that still probably play to this day, not right. So why are we so upset at a man that wants to put out something as close to state of the art as he can?
I think Pops, I'll tell you why. Because that term you just said has been said so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
People have said state of the art, next generation, next level. The best game ever. Those terms have become wasted,
meaningless. Yeah,
and meaningless, right? And it's a trigger word for gamers, right? When gamers hear it, next level, next generation, right away. You know what I mean? Gamers, well, what is it? What is it? You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's why when I talk about the gaming industry has also created the monster as well. Odie's hit this on a second. I didn't want to belabor the point, but we were talking about this as OGs, all dinosaurs. We talked about back in the day when games came out, there was no patches. The game came out, it was fixed. It was done. There was no, you didn't get no CD or DVD in the mail saying, oh, here's a patch to fix your game. Very rare if it ever did, because the idea was to put out a completed project that was working well. We've now moved into a world where early access, beta, and a lot of other things in some ways has reduced our expectation of what we expect from a game company. And so that's also put greater demand on it, though, because when we get our hands on it earlier, that's why people are able to sell games and say, pay us an extra $20 and you can get in 5 days earlier. So what? You get in 5 days earlier just to be ahead of everybody, or is it about experiencing the game? And I'm saying they've created these things in our head, the FOMO, fear of missing out, where we'll do all types of stuff. And it's like, really? I mean, is it really that necessary to be in 3 days earlier, 5 days earlier? I'm not talking about when you want to, like me, I bought one game where I paid like extra $40 and I got like a big dragon statue and all. That's cool. I mean, it's like little things, but I'm talking about this desire for, having the game, you know what I mean? A lot of that the industry has created. And if we're not, and to Odie's point, we have to be careful, as grown folk, sometimes we do get a little immature about our games,
we do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this real quick and slide me out, slide Kai in. I did come into this game, and I'm going to speak a little bit of truth.
Mhm.
I did come into this game at the time I did because of early access. Because you see those people out there on YouTube. Oh, I'm playing this game, and you can't play it yet.
Yeah.
And that has an appeal to it.
Oh yeah.
And,
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong. I think things like early access and stuff can be beneficial, especially for an independent developer who doesn't have a publisher behind them. They're saying, hey, we're giving you a snapshot of what it is we're trying to do. And if you like this idea and you want to help us financially support so we can complete the vision of what we're doing, I get that. Don't get me wrong. What I'm talking about is when people didn't deliver. Right? When they put money in and the game wasn't finished, or they didn't fulfill their vision. All of that stuff has kind of created the monster on the other side of the coin too.
Yeah.
When people deliver, it's no problem. Yeah, when they deliver, it's no problem. It's when things don't get delivered that people get disappointed, frustrated, aggravated, and then the next time something comes up, they get even more frustrated because of the last thing that happened. You know what I mean? All right, buddy. Let me get Kai up in here, okay? Thanks, Pops. All right, let's bring Kai, the Zen Man, in. I keep forgetting to change names. I had ODZ's name up. What's up, Kai?
Hello. Yeah. So, Star Citizen, worse than Cyberpunk. First off, yes, you're absolutely correct in that Cyberpunk released a game and Star Citizen hasn't yet. But you're comparing apples to Volkswagens. Like that is just a stupid comparison to make, in that one is a finished product and one isn't. It's just,
thanks for the subscription.
I mean, it's just nonsense. That's like saying, well, I'm building a Ferrari and it's halfway done being built. Somebody else is building a Yugo and it's completely finished. Which is the better car? Well, the Yugo, because it has a steering wheel and a gas tank and you can get in it and drive.
Right.
But the Ferrari is going to be worth it when it comes out. Maybe. And I'm not.
Right.
I'm not even co-signing on Star Citizen's going to be the greatest thing ever. I have high hopes, but I'm saying just logically taking zero interest in either of these two projects. One is complete, one isn't. Well, okay, so that one's better because it's complete. I will say there's been a lot of talk in this segment about, Cyberpunk, sort of shitting the bed on drop. Let me say, Cyberpunk was a disaster on drop. It was a huge mess.
Yeah.
But over the next 6 months, they went through and really did a lot. And people that have played the game now are saying it's what it's more or less what they wanted from the beginning. And I think that and I'm not an evangelist of Cyberpunk. I'm not an evangelist of anything. I'm just pointing out that, like, again, this was brought up in the last point that we had. I kind of think this is just where we're at now. Almost all games are going to drop rough. They're going to take their knocks. Then they're going to, if they're the ones, so some of them, if it's a cash grab or if it's just a shit product, it's going to die hard and go away. But I think No Man's Sky, I think, you think of what is that the Bethesda game Fallout 76? That was the worst jank ever on drop. But I know many people
back to playing it. They love
that
it.
actually play it and they're like, holy cow, the game is good now. The problem with that is that so part of it is just that's how it is, but part of it is from a game developer, from someone who's putting out a product standpoint, you kind of have to ride the line between getting it going and whatever, and then versus if I put it out and it's super jank, like for every story of No Man's Sky where they put it out, it was shit, they made it better over like a year, 2 years, and then now everybody just sings their praises because it is an amazing game that I love playing. For every story of that, there's 10 Fallout 76s out there where even if they fixed it later, they burned the audience and they lost people. So like for Star Citizen, that again is just, it strengthens the argument. And I know that there has to be a point of sanity somewhere where you go, all right, enough's enough, make some progress. But like, it's better to put it out next summer and have it be good than put it out today and have it burn your entire audience.
Yeah. You know, I was watching, and just to touch on something you said, they just recently put out a GDC post-mortem for Star Wars Galaxies. You know, and we've ranted about Star Wars Galaxy forever, how much we love that game. It's a great post-mortem, really good. And one of the things that they said in the post-mortem for those of you who play Star Wars Galaxies or have heard about it, what they said was this, that the developers went back to Sony multiple times, saying, we need another year.
Yep.
We need more time. And they pushed it out too soon. And they kept telling them, they said, we need 12 months. They said, Sony came back and said, you got 1 month. It always seems like whenever these big failures happen, the publisher's hand is in it.
That was also
what?
That was also the story of Cyberpunk. CD Projekt Red went to Sony and said, hey, push it back. Can we push it back? And they said, nah.
Absolutely. They pushed it once and that was it. And my point is, and people forget about this, the reason why this is crowdfunded is because Chris did not want to be under the strong arm of a publisher that would tell him it's good enough, get it out now, or to put out a date and say, we've already locked down all these deals and corporate stuff and everything else and told our investors it's coming out, no, you cannot get another 6 months. And that's the price we're paying. It's really, I'm keeping it real. The price we pay is be under a publisher and maybe get a product that's not finished and not ready, that fails and people move on to something else, you know, or we give the latitude for them to work without that burden or that monkey on their back. But yeah, we want more time. We need more time. It's a tough spot to be in, but history, if Sakai raised all the history of these different games, look at what happened when it got out too soon, when it wasn't ready. The impact was great. To your point, Kai, you and I both watched the progress of No Man's Sky. Great potential of the game. I don't think that Murray and them had any intent to put out a bad game, but they did a deal with the devil when they got that money from Sony. And Sony told them, they debuted in 2013. Sony said 2016, it wasn't ready, and it took a huge hit. Huge hit. There's some people who came back to it and play it. There are other people who never came back to it in that process, you know. So, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Depends on which way you want to go with it. I want a game that's going to be around like Eve, like World of Warcraft, that's been around for 10 years, 20 years, and I'm still interested in playing it. Not something that I'm going to play now in a year or 6 months from now. You know, I've moved on to the next day. I've done enough of those. I don't want to do that anymore, you know? Okay, we got 2 more people, and I got to wrap this up, guys, because I'm going to let you go. I've got to be somewhere, guys, so please forgive me if I cut you. All I'm going to ask you to do is make it concise, because I honestly have got to shut down the stream, but you're in there, so I want to bring you guys in. Fist?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Be real quick, like you said. Had to beg to differ on the games back in the day being complete and always working. Do y'all remember a system called Nintendo where you basically develop cartridge?
Okay. Wait. Now wait. See, you going back to consoles, brother. You younger than me. I'm going way back before consoles were even a thing, okay? My consoles would have been the Intellivision and the Atari 2600. You trying to go back to Nintendo. But I hear you. I hear you, though. I do hear you.
Because you learned how to play the harmonica, the trumpet, and every other woodwind instrument from those cartridges. Now, another thing, real quick. Anybody remember a game called Anthem?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
You will hear me talk a lot about Anthem.
Yeah.
Love that game.
A lot of promise, a lot of possibilities, but they drove the developers crazy, wore them out.
Where is it?
Yeah. And it had potential, great potential. And it had a community of people who jumped on that game because they saw the potential of what it could be. But EA messed it up.
Is it? That's it.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, let's bring in Madness. Boom. A little bit of Madness. How are you, man?
What's up, dude?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Oh, you got to go quick. So I'll firstly, whoever's the idiot that's comparing Star Citizen to Cyberpunk is like, come on. I mean, that's dumb as shit, right? Okay. So the first thing is you compare Squadron 42 when that's finished to Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk. That's the first thing. Second thing is Cyberpunk was a disaster on launch simply because they were foolish enough to keep releasing it on the first generation of consoles. That rolled ages ago. They should have come out and said, sorry guys, we want to give you the best experience of Cyberpunk. It's going to be on the highest grade. Save all that energy and resources that they were wasted on trying to make it work on those old consoles and say, sorry guys, if you bought it on PS4, we'll refund your money. Yes, it would have taken a hit, but then they would have had a better launch. Things would have been a bit cleaner. It would have been no worse than what you kind of get nowadays. There'd been a few bugs, a few things here and there. I played it on the PC. It ran. I had the occasional thing, but again, I play Star Citizen. I'm used to heads twisting around and weird shit happening, you know. So for me, it was like every now and again you get thrown out, but the story was amazing. Did I think that the end game of Cyberpunk was there? No. Did I think that the game clearly was a little rushed perhaps to get it out at the end? Yes. But if you think of CD Projekt Red, think of the first Witcher, think of the second Witcher, think of the third one. By the time they get to the third one, it's a masterpiece. Okay? That's the way I look at it. So I look at it, is this the first one? They released the first one. We enjoy the story. We enjoy the vision. Then you get to the second one and the third one. For this, can't compare this to freaking Cyberpunk. We compare Squadron 42, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. That's what you compare to Cyberpunk. And that's where I leave it.
No, that's good stuff, man. And I'm glad you kind of gave us that history about that, because some people just don't know that.
The Witcher 3 didn't even launch great either.
That's
they
right.
had full of bugs as well. It needed fixes, and that won best game of the year as well.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. And guess what? Witcher's still around. I mean, people still play it. You know what I mean?
Such a good game.
That's the thing about it.
Still around.
People
still play
Cyberpunk
it.
are right.
They keep bringing out new patches. NVIDIA and latest new graphics. It's going to be the best graphics you've ever seen in a game in that thing now.
I didn't play it when it came out. Well, I was going to get it, and then I heard, the problems they were having with it, and I didn't dismiss it. I just said I'll get to it eventually. But now everybody that I know who played it, some people who played it the first time have gone back and played it and talked about, no, Griff, you'll definitely enjoy it. So I'm going to jump in.
It needs more. It needs more. It needs more content. There was clearly not a lot of thought for some of the gameplay and replayability to a degree. But now, like you say, like it's going to get ray tracing, full freaking ray tracing. This game, it looks already insane. Have you seen?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Have you seen the detail on some of the latest screenshots where they're showing what the new? I can't remember what it's called, but the new like that is insanely cool, and that's like on that game. So like second Cyberpunk, bring it on. Next one, let's go. I'm excited for it. Excited for Squadron 42, patch 3. I was going to say 319 Inside Star Citizen, the best freaking Inside Star Citizen in years.
Yeah, it's good
years.
Stuff. It's good stuff. It's
brilliant. Anyway, I know you got to go.
But I appreciate you bringing up that bit of piece about the consoles, because I agree with you 100%. They bit off more than they could have chewed. You can't do all that next generation and then try to satisfy the past generation stuff. It's just too difficult.
You just got to bite that painful bullet and say, sorry guys, this isn't going to work. Because I hope they learn from that and they recognize, because of that length of development period of time, sometimes you just got to say, like, Star Citizen could be the same thing. You got that years of development. You got to say, sorry guys, it's not going to run on your 970G whatever it is graphics card. I'm sorry guys, it's just not going to do it. We can't do it.
You're right.
You got to spend some money.
Yep. All right, man. Anyway. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
No worries, Dave.
All right. He's always a good guy to come in. He gives good. He's objective. Sometimes Madness and I go different ways, but I respect him because he knows what he's talking about. Anyway, we're going to close it out, guys. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. Really, really appreciate you, especially all the great comments. I know we went into this whole 318 thing. Hopefully CIG will continue to refine. If you've been in there, you'll see every few days they put out a patch. Things are getting better. Things have become more stable. If you haven't been in the PTU, we were in last night. It was very stable, running very smoothly. Still some things they got to work out, but it's better than 3.18.0 is. 18.1 is definitely better. So they're stress testing this weekend. Try to get it on the schedule if you can. Help that out. I know a lot of times it's frustrating, but guys, the more of us that get in there to help it, the more analytics and data they get, the more they can get the game up and running for everybody in the community. So thank you. There was so much stuff going on in the chat, guys. I'm sorry I couldn't respond to things that everybody had, but you guys had a lot of good stuff. I did see many of the comments that were there. Let me talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're doing this show, The Big Broadcast. We're going to be talking about broadcasting in the Star Citizen universe, what that might look like, what it looks like now, what it may look like later. We're going to have special guests on. The folks from EEE Studios, EEE Expeditionary, they're going to be on. We're going to have the guys from New Soul, they're going to be on. We're going to have folks from Star Jump Station, they're going to be on. And we're going to be talking about all the possibilities and things that we would like to see CIG put in that these little announcements, things popping up on the screens, whether or not community stuff will be included, stuff that we'd like to see CIG produce. We're going to talk about all that cool stuff tomorrow. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for the big broadcast tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. Get some people from the refund sub. ODC. Okay. Don't forget, today is also Podcast Saturday, where we work with a couple of our friends, Astropub, Paul Shelley, with the Captain's Table, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You guys go over there. He has a panel show, always has great guests and folks from the community who come on and talk with him about the latest in Star Citizen. And then after that, Relay at 9 p.m. Eastern time. The OGs of Star Citizen, they've been around probably longer than most folks that stream. Get to check them out as well. They're great partners of ours, great supporters of ours. Hopefully you guys will be able to drop in on them and join them in their streams. We are going to be setting ourselves up for a raid of Mr. Paul Shelley, the Astropub. He is on board right now, and we're going to send you guys over there with him. He's talking some good stuff at Captain's Table. Thank you guys once again, everybody who dropped in today. Thank you all for coming in and sharing your thoughts to the community. Those of you who are in chat sending out good information, thank you. Once again, thank you for hanging out during our technical problems earlier during the stream. We love you guys so much because you guys are great supporters of ours. And hopefully we'll see you guys on tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern time for the big broadcast. You guys take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. And as always, peace, love, and soul. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.